Hey my friends, it's me, your host, the Birdman, and welcome to Bleakhaven. This is the podcast where we talk all about all things Bleakhaven. We talk to creators, artists, and we give you the 411 on merchandise offers and etc. Today, we have creator, Mr. Stanley Bostwick, and we have his lovely wife, Casandra Bostwick.
And
co-creator, my apologies.
I did some writing.
she wrote that stuff, my bad.
She created the protagonist.
No kidding. The protagonist, which name is?
Harmony,
or the Siren, which is their superhero name.
What's what are the origins of Bleakhaven? Where did you get the idea?
Well, Bleakhaven comes from a lot of different ideas I've had over the years. I've always been a creator. I've always worked on film, writing my own stories. So a lot of the inspiration for those characters comes from my background there, as well as mythology, science fiction, and all these other things kind of blend in to make Bleakhaven. The long story short, I thought of a really cool story moment, and then I built Bleakhaven around that moment. We've been working on it for a while, trying to, create interesting concepts and cool stories and monsters and stuff. One of the things we really like to do is take really obscure monsters and legends and kind of incorporate them into our universe.
Stanley's writing theory plays a huge part of it. It's that the premise is the stuff that's cool that makes you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's what the story's actually about. And that's one of the things that I particularly enjoyed working on Bleakhaven initially was we have this big cool world with demons and cool things and explosions everywhere, but ultimately the story is about people and their experiences in just life. And we wanted to explore particularly what it would be like to be a superhero in a more realistic sense, where everything doesn't always go the way you want it to.
It's kind of a more real-life approach to these crazy scenarios that happen in comic books, because, obviously none of the stuff that's in Bleakhaven can actually happen. It's very science fiction, fantasy-esque. But we wanted to take those scenarios and apply real-world emotions and situations and reactions to those things.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm already looking forward to it as it is. I mean, I love human interactions as much as the next guy, especially within comic books. So, I have a personal question. So, are you going to do, character mini-series, maybe in the future?
Yeah, so we have quite a bit planned for Bleakhaven. For anyone who doesn't know, the initial comic book we have right now that's just about to be released, our flagship book, Welcome to Bleakhaven, which is an anthology series that basically highlights characters and places and elements within Bleakhaven. I guess they converge into the main story arc we've written, which we would like to be a show someday. So we've already got, those larger aspirations for a TV show or, a streaming series. And that's what this comic series is about. But we also have several other comic series as well. One, Cassie's writing, which is about a hero in another city on the West Coast. So Bleakhaven is like a Gotham, New York, East Coast city.
Bleak.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then Cassie's is more like a Seattle. We also have another comic series being written by a good friend of mine, Donald Roos. He is going to be writing it in a city like Dallas or Salt Lake, some Midwest. Not that those cities are similar in any way, but they're kind of,
They kind of feel that way, yeah.
In the middle, a landlocked state, nothing gigantic, but and his story takes place about 15-20 years before the main Bleakhaven stuff, and I'm writing a prequel series called The Priest of Bleakhaven. One of the characters in Bleakhaven is the priest at the cathedral. He's featured in the very first issue as well. So in this prequel series, it will go over his backstory of him fighting monsters in the 80s, basically.
Oh, nice.
So
I can already see the movie possibilities with that. You got all the retro 80s music playing in the background, you know, 99 Luft balloons when there's fights going on. Is there anything you guys would like to talk about in particular that you want to tell the fans, future fans, any fans?
I guess I will thank you, any current or future fans listening to this. It means a lot. We're doing this for you, primarily. Yeah, I want to be paid. This is what I want to be my full-time job, right?
Of course. But
at the heart of that, I do care about these characters and these stories, and if somebody can care about them as much as I do and appreciate them as much as Cassie and I do, I thank you immensely.
I think that the main thing that I would want our fans to know, other than the fact that we do appreciate you immensely, is that these stories are super cool, and I love them, but one of the bigger things behind it is we're putting our heart and soul into this, and that includes incorporating emotional struggles that we've been through in our lives, and we would want to bring as much light and hope into people's lives as we can, and that's kind of the point of Bleakhaven, is like, even the name is, it's a bleak place, a lot of bad stuff happens, but there's always hope.
Exactly, it's Bleakheaven. It's no matter how dark and horrible things get, there's always hope, there's always a way out, there's always a way up and beyond, and there's always a way to do good in the world.
No matter how solid your struggles seem, there's always a way.
And that's one thing that we really focus on with the characters too, is they're very human characters. We kind of take that Marvel sort of approach to superheroes, where these are human people with supernatural or meta-human abilities. Cassie, why don't you tell us a little bit about Harmony and her character?
The inspiration from her, if I'm going to be totally honest, I picked the most tragic backstory that I could. But it was, in a way, it was to help build off of nothing, right? Because when you have nothing, you have to do something with it. And that's... Harmony's character can be really stubborn. She doesn't really tend to trust people off the bat just because of her past. And she always feels like the world's against her. And that's one of my favorite things about Harmony, is the fact that she continues going forward even though it sucks. And she knows it sucks. And you'll hear her talk about how much it sucks all the time.
She's got a little bit of Luke Skywalker whiny syndrome.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because she's the protagonist, she kind of has to have...
It's impossible! Yeah.
Exactly, that sort of thing.
That's exactly what it is. But, like, she's a musician. She plays the violin. A lot of her powers are created with her violin. As her superhero name says, she's a siren. She can influence things with music. She attempts to mold her powers throughout the entire series, and that's something I'm looking forward to seeing the fans' response to as well.
Seeing how it progresses, because I'm already interested. Like, I already have questions, and I don't even want to ask them because I don't want to spoil anything.
Don't worry, we won't spoil it. We have a lot of stuff we're keeping a tight lid on. I mean, we're excited about it.
She sounds like her powers are roughly like Vanya's from Umbrella Academy.
They're a little similar. Well, the funny thing is that we actually created Harmony before the show came out. Yeah. Like, dang it.
We still haven't really watched the show.
They're not 100% the same. They're different, and they evolve. And that's one of my favorite things about Harmony in general, is that she struggles with feeling like she's not enough, right? Like, she has these powers, and she struggles with the daunting reality of all these villains and bad guys all around her, and she doesn't feel like she can fight them effectively, so she's constantly trying to, look for different ways to be better, to be somebody else, when, she struggles with being herself and using what she has. And I think that's one of the best parts about her character.
Oh, well, that sounds even cooler then. Now I'm actually more interested into the character. So, tell us about the Fallen.
Okay. The Fallen is the mentor character. So there's the real world, right? The real physical plane, and there's sort of this metaphysical realm that I call the shadow world. The Morning Star is the big bad guy of this first season. His whole deal is he wants to resurrect into the real world. He wants to take over Earth, and not just Earth, but this whole reality, this whole plane of existence. And the Fallen anciently took him down. But as a result of that, he was also kind of lost in this limbo. He's not a physical being. He's trapped in this metaphysical world. But he's a mentor trying to help the characters, and he's kind of like the guiding spirit, so to speak, of the three main heroes of the series as they move forward. And he's going to be an ever-looming presence, especially in Welcome to Bleakhaven.
He's also the glue of the three main characters, because there's a lot of contention between the main characters in the beginning, and he's the person who's like, no, you guys need each other, you need to stay together, and here's why, and here's what you need to do.
I see. Well, everybody including superheroes needs mentorship. Actually, I don't know if I asked. Could you tell us, more about, the overall story without giving away too much detail?
I mostly want the series Welcome to Bleakhaven speak for itself, but the series that it's alluding to, it's where all those books get meshed together. So these three characters are the guiding sort of influence of the stories. They drive the story. But there's these constant things happening around them, in the first two issues, we see the Skullivan and the cult, the Church of the Morning Star. And we actually get a glimpse of them at the end of the second issue. I don't know, Cassie, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't want to tarnish your explanation there.
But we could talk a little bit more about the books themselves, if you'd like.
Sure.
Well, it's been a long process. We've been working on this, almost 3 years now? And we've been working on these comic books for about a year and a half now. And the comics themselves came from the show. It was really hard for me to compile this production Bible that I was putting together and to be convinced that anyone would care about it. So I figured, why not do comic books first? I know many brilliant artists through my work. We decided to start writing these short, episodic, Twilight Zone-esque anthology stories that we could use as a pitch and a hook for the main show. We were initially supposed to launch in April, but we all know that the virus came that kind of screwed everybody up in the whole world.
Yeah.
Now we're able to launch now.
Second opportunity here.
Yeah, it actually gave us a lot of opportunity to sit down and write more, plan more, decide what we want to do, polish things up. Now we're really excited to release our first book, which is actually going to be two books together. Issue number 1, The Skullivan, and issue number 2, The Church of the Morning Star. I guess we could talk about the Skullivan in general as a character. He's one of my favorite characters. I kind of see him as sort of the Spider-Man of the universe, the flagship character of Spider-Man or Batman. He's a normal guy, more or less, that's been turned into a monster. That in and of itself is a really interesting concept to me. He has every right in the world to just go insane because he's turned into a bone monster. He wants to do good through it, and that to me is what the Skullivan is about. Since we were going back to my writing theory, the premise is it's a neat bone exoskeleton monster person, but what it's actually about is a person learning to deal with his shortcomings and his problems and actually using them to help people and, do good in the world, and actively looking for that rather than being... he's actively looking to serve rather than being bitter and angry about it.
Skullivan. Is that how you say it correctly?
Yeah, Skullivan.
That's got a ring to it, too.
I hope people like it. I'm excited to see reactions.
Tell us where we can get these fine books. Or when maybe is there a possibility?
When is the possibility?
When is the possibility?
October for sure. They will be on sale by October. You can get them through our website, bleakhaven.com. That's spelled bleakheaven.com. You'll be able to order them through there, or we're trying to get them into some local comic book shops, and we're going to be talking to some other comic book shops as well to see if they'd like to be carrying them. We don't have any deals yet, so I don't have any names yet for comic book shops.
We should be appearing at FearCon.
Yes, we've secured a booth at FearCon, the only convention happening this year, and you'll be able to buy it there. We also have t-shirts and posters that will be available.
Our artists will also be available for commissions that are Bleakhaven based, so you can have yourself drawn with a Bleakhaven monster if you want to. We're also on Facebook. It's just Bleakhaven, spelled Bleakheaven.
And Instagram under the same tag.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be doing polls and a raffle through the social media page and the FearCon thing for a custom art piece by our artists.
Yeah, they'll be doing live art at the convention. And we also have a few things planned online for those who might not want to come to the convention or are unable to come to the convention if they still want to participate. Cassie will be running our social media that weekend, and she'll be doing, all sorts of stuff on there that if you want to check it out, you shouldn't miss it. FearCon's going to happen October 16th and 17th, I think. That'll be exciting. We're really pumped for that. We're going to have a cardboard cutout of Skullivan for people to take pictures of, and
cool.
A few other things planned that hopefully we'll be able to turn out.
That sounds great. Show up. Go to FearCon. Also, check them out on Facebook, the Bleakhaven, and all the social medias. Is there anything else you guys like to add?
We're just excited to get started, and we're excited to move forward and see where all this goes.
I'm excited to see how everybody reacts and to see who everybody's favorite characters are coming out of the gate with this anthology series. Because I know what my favorites are, but I want to know what everybody else's favorites are.
Yeah, I'm sitting over here like I haven't even seen all the characters yet, so I'm just like, I can't wait. I gotta pick my favorite character because I'm the same way. Well, folks, you've listened to it. You've gotten the news. You've gotten all the 411. I've been your host, the Birdman, and that's been the Bleakhaven Podcast for the day. Till next time.